was delighted to welcome Eddie Gilfoyle to the Palace of Westminster, because the last time I saw Eddie was in Wakefield Jail, where I went as his local Member of Parliament in 1996. And we had a discussion about the case, as a result of which I then took up a number of issues on his behalf, and I went to see the Chief Constable and Merseyside Police in a bid to unlock what appeared to be a lack of evidence in that certain key files and documentation no longer seemed to be available, including what I regarded to be crucial and critical notes which the police insisted to me had never existed, but which Eddie and I thought were somewhere. And these included statements by the officers at the crime scene as to what they saw when they arrived. And also we attempted to find out where the evidence was, and then discovered that it had been removed before the scene of crime officers had arrived. This is only the tip of the iceberg, in that we have been searching for evidence for many years, and at last some of it now seems to be uncovered, thanks to the sterling efforts of Matt Foote and Sally Mitchell at Bernberg Pearson Partners, who at last the truth is coming to the surface. And I was pleased to welcome Eddie. He was indeed convicted in 1993 for the murder of his pregnant wife, but he has always professed his innocence ever since the day of his arrest. Now, on his release from prison, he was, which was just before Christmas, and it was something, Eddie, that was in both our minds, that you should be with your family for Christmas. You were released just before Christmas, but the parole board initially imposed a gagging order, which I then challenged, as did his solicitors. I took it up with Sir David Latham, the chairman of the parole board, and eventually I understand that it was duly lifted. I'm still inquiring as to why it was ever imposed in the first place. But now Eddie speaks for the first time since the order was lifted, and I'm therefore delighted to see so many of you present, and I have much pleasure now in handing over to Eddie. Eddie.
What are you all looking at? I'll tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at an innocent man who's just spent 18 years in prison for something I didn't do. 18 years, half of my life, for something I didn't do. I didn't kill my wife, I didn't kill my baby. I was released from prison in December. When I was released from prison, I was told in no uncertain terms, neither myself, my sister, my legal team, or anyone associated with me could talk to the media. If we had of, I was straight back to prison. Kenneth Clarke, the Justice Minister, authorised it. The reason he authorised it is he didn't want me coming out and telling you the truth. I did not kill my wife and baby. They've known the truth for 18 years. I've been in prison for something I did not do. They knew I did not do it. Kenneth Clarke was prepared to break the law to apply that gagging order, to keep me quiet. Well, I'm not going to be quiet. I've done nothing wrong in all this. And the people who have done wrong aren't even accountable at this present moment in time. The dishonesty throughout this case runs from top to bottom. Make no bones about it, it's from the top of the system to the bottom of the system. The Crown Prosecution Service were quite prepared to lie to Parliament over my case. That lie was only amended and put right when we produced the evidence to prove that they were lying. Otherwise, that lie would have been left on the table No one challenging it. Dishonesty. I've been to the appeal court twice, and on both occasions, my appeal and the evidence within my appeals were dealt with dishonestly. I've got nothing to hide in this case. I've told the truth from day one. What are the authorities frightened of? I'll tell you. Because I've told the truth. My case is currently with the CCRC. It's been with the CCRC since last August. As of today, sitting here in front of you, I have still not had a caseworker allocated. Having taken 18 years of my life, I'm not prepared to wait 5 years. I'm not prepared to wait 2 years while they get their act together and sort this case out. I'm going to be in your faces. I'm going to be kicking at your doors to sort out the dishonesty in this case and give me my life back. You were quick enough taking it 18 years ago. The dishonesty in this case hasn't got better, it's got worse. Because at every stage they are trying to cover up. I'm the one paying for their cover-ups. Merseyside Police, on the 4th of June, destroyed the scene and destroyed evidence. They knew that there was consequences and ramifications for their actions on that night. They knew there were serious consequences and serious ramifications. In order to get round that, I was easier to blame. I was easier to be the fall guy for their misconduct, for their negligence. I've just spent 18 years in jail. I never killed my wife. I never killed my baby. The police knew it on the night. But rather than deal with the consequences and ramifications of their actions, I was framed. I was taken out of the system, taken out of life, put in a prison for something I did not do. They knew I didn't do it. They still prepared to frame me. It's not, me saying it, I'm telling you, that's what happened. They framed me. I did not kill my wife, did not kill my baby, and they knew it. I'm asking Kenneth Clark to meet me, to tell me what he's prepared to do about my situation. He is the Minister of Justice. He is responsible for the gagging order that was placed on me. I need answers. And I think it's only right that I should be given those answers. I am innocent, and I'm sitting before you today, 18 years after I was released from prison. I want the answers because I'm entitled to them. I've done nothing wrong, and I'm telling you I've done nothing wrong. I want my life back, because I might be out of prison, but I'm always going to be a prisoner whilst this is over my head. I haven't done this. They knew it. Now give me my life back. Thank you.
Really, I ask Matt to say a word. Matt.
Well, I can't put it better than Eddie Gilfoyle. First of all, I'd like to thank Lord David Hunt for hosting this press conference today. We put together very significant representations to the CCRC, which went into the CCRC last summer, and we're waiting for a response. I'm not going to go into the detail, obviously, but I do make 3 broad points about this extraordinary case. There was no forensic evidence for murder in this case. The reason for that is because it was a suicide. What the prosecution did was that they distorted evidence to give the appearance that there was forensic evidence in this case. And there were 2 important points that went before the jury, which were myths. They were fallacies. The first was that Paula Gilfoyle could not walk up the ladder and maintain balance to get a rope over a beam that ran down the middle of the garage. And the second was that she couldn't have got the rope over the beam in the way that it was found. These were complete and utter myths that were created by the prosecution and went into the trial. And it's extraordinary coincidence that the day of this press conference there's been an announcement today by the Law Commission that we need to change the rules on expert evidence in criminal trials. And what they're saying is that no longer should there be unjustifiable assumptions going into trials from experts. And that's exactly what happened in this case. If the new rules that have been suggested today by the Law Commission were in force in 1992, this case never would have gone to trial. The second point we need to be clear about this case is that the prosecution case is a perverse case. It says that Paula Gilfoyle, it's accepted there were no injuries, there was no sign of disturbance, there was no intoxication. She was somehow tricked into being hung. That is unique in history. And we say that perversion is because it's an injustice. And the third point I make is that having studied this case over a few years with the assistance of Eddie and his family, we found that every single stage of the criminal justice process where he was supposed to be protected, he was dealt with unfairly. From the very beginning, as Eddie says, in the way they dealt with the scene, right through to trial. We recently found out that even at the trial, Eddie Gilfoyle, who was obviously suffering from depression because of the loss of his wife, was denied his medication in a murder trial, which is just an appalling thing to contemplate. So for all those broad reasons, we say this case is obviously a case that needs to be referred back to the Court of Appeal, and there is significant material before the CCRC which we are awaiting on. And I just reiterate what Eddie says. Eddie is free, but he will never be free until his name is cleared.